Howdy folks, Justin here, and we have ourselves the January reward card for playing ranked. It is Stampede Sentinel, a 6 magic, a 7/7 with breakthrough that says you cannot be damaged by actions or supports. This card is really exciting to me. First of all, the text, right? You can't be damaged by actions or supports. This is exactly the sort of rule-making mechanics that I talked about in my video where I talked about ways that Red's card pool could be expanded to make it a more interesting color, frankly. And this is exactly the sort of thing that I was talking about. This is a really cool ability that works in a variety of decks. I mean, a 6 magic, a 7/7 works pretty well as a top-end creature in an aggressive strategy, a more linear strategy. But this card also has a place in mid-range decks that are looking to drop, a giant creature in the middle game that gets 2 or 3 for 1 against your opponent's creatures, and works well in control decks that are trying to look for a way in red to not die to lightning bolts to the dome and stuff like that. I think this is a really exciting card. The art on this is phenomenal, and I'm really impressed by this. And so what I wanted to do, see, between this and the change to Reeve, I have decided to play, or to try to build and play a functional Crusader next season of a slightly different bent. So I'm just going to go through some brainstorm ideas here on camera. And see what this might look like, right? So we got a new deck. We want a Crusader deck, so let's go ahead and throw a tier in there so we have access to the right colors. Okay, so what's going in this deck, right? Let's start with the cards we just really want to play, okay? Why are we playing this deck? Well, we definitely want to play Reeve. That's part of the reason we're building it. We don't have copies of the new guy yet, so we're not putting those in, but what else would go into a value deck like this, right? Like a deck that is interested in doing something different with Crusader. Well, the first card that comes to my mind after these cards is a card that doesn't see a whole lot of play. That is Dawnstar Healer. I like the idea of sort of a mid-range strategy, right? That can claw back against aggro if it needs to, but it's also not just going to fold to another control deck, which is something we'll get to in just a second. We run Golden Saint, right? Because if you can trigger Golden Saint, you want to play Golden Saint. With enough life gain mechanics, that should be pretty straightforward. We definitely want to run Piercing Javelin. That card is fantastic. We're not sure yet what our top end is going to look like. It's possible, like, what if we just curve out, or our curve ends maybe at 7 or 8 instead of going up to 10, 12, 11, and we try to go under other control decks, right? Play the control deck versus the aggro decks, and the aggro deck versus the control decks. Triumphant Jarl should be good against the control decks because we should be ahead in health if we build our deck correctly. And with stuff like Dawnstar Healer in the mix, we should be well positioned against aggro. Also, another card that we can use against aggro would be Ravenous Hunger. It's a pretty reasonable 2-drop. Could run Bruma Profiteer. Really tech the deck against aggro. But we want to make sure we still have game against control too, so we need to ask ourselves, what are we trying to do to win the long game? What are some cards that generate a lot of value? I think Withered Hand Cultist might be good. I think that's something worth considering. What else are we looking at? Seems like a couple Skaven Pyromancers could be good. A lot of 3-drops. Only 6 2-drops. So what else are we looking for? How are we going to pull off a value deck like this, right? Hard to argue with Markarth Bannerman. There's a lot of value there. We don't want to get too many 5-drops in our deck, and we need to remember we are interested in running several copies of Stampede Sentinel, who I will get off the screen here. We will just shrink this guy down, put him over here. So Stampede Sentinel. So what if we would top out at 8? What cards are we running at 8? Or are we going to top out at 7, I think Execute's essential. Sorcerer is still a good deck. Execute's the best card in that matchup. Legion Shield is intriguing. I think Eastmarch Crusader, we want to draw some cards. But we're just getting really heavy on the 3-drops here. So what are we taking out? Let's take out Withered Hand Cultist. I am sort of interested in a Regini Highwayman, but we definitely want Cloud Resolutionist. That card pulls a lot of value. I think Hive Defender is pretty good in any way this goes, aggressive or not. Spiteful Dremora is interesting. Now, if we're topping out at 8 and we want to keep the cycling going, what do you say about Vigilant Giant? Let's run some Vigilant Giants. Let's go ahead and run the full 3. And then as far as the new card goes, Stampede Sentinel, let's pretend these are Stampede Sentinels. So our curve is real heavy over here at the end. We got 10 slots left. So how are we going to get to that point, right? What cards are we running to ensure we reach the point where we're dropping our Vigilant Giants, our Stampede Sentinels? Well, a couple options. As far as early guard creatures go, or cards that trade well with multiple creatures, Fearless Northlander is an option. Morkel Gatekeeper is probably a card we need to include as a prophecy, as a guard creature. And if we're going to run Morkel Gatekeeper, let's go and run a full 3. I think we're probably interested in running some of these token creators, right? I mean, giving one of those guard, or maybe even Priest of the Moons. Actually, I really like Priest of the Moons here. It's another prophecy creature. Makes our curve look a little better. 9 3-drops, I'm sorry, 9 2-drops, 11 3-drops, but our 3-drops are pretty high value. Dawnstar Healer, Eastmarch Crusader, Morkel Gatekeeper, Skaven Pyromancer. Now, are there any good 1-drops or 0-drops? I mean, Blackmail is definitely an option. It's something to do turn 1. Sunhold Medic, not terrible. And you know what, I forgot an important 2-drop. Rift Thane, of course, has to go in this deck. And that makes our curve look much nicer. We got 1 spot left for a card. We're running, there are only 2 of is Skaven Pyromancer. So what else are we looking at here? You know, this color combination I think works pretty well with Crushing Blow. You don't have a whole lot of better choices necessarily. There's always Wabbajack. Wabbajack could be an interesting choice. So could Orb of Vermina to help gain extra value in those control matchups. Just for fun, I'm going to throw Orb of Vermina in here, and this is going to be the deck that I try when the season rolls over. So I'm going to come up with a fake title now, but if you guys have any ideas for a title, you go ahead and let me know in the comments for something better. Right now we're going to call this Reeves Gigantic Party. And yeah, let me know in the comments what you think about names, card suggestions. I mean, this is obviously not a play tested list at all yet. This is just going to be a starting point. I think this is going to be fun to play. I think Vigilant Giant, Triumphant Jarl, and Golden Saint and Orb of Vermina will provide some good late game against decks going long. And I think that this package right here is going to be really, really strong against most aggressive strategies. So yeah, that's about it. Let me know what you think. I hope you're as excited about this card as I am, and I will see you all on the ladder in just a few days.